I was talking about leaves as a mulch. Oak leaves are really the best mulch there is. They're bigger and they don't crumble up so much. They don't like mat up and rot so much. They're bigger. They cover a larger area and it's easier to work with. It's faster to work with. Maple leaves are small, thin, and they will rot quick, and they'll just go away to nothing, and they don't amount to much, and they get to stinking so bad. Of course, oak leaves will stink too, so you don't want to get them wet if you can help it. If you got wet leaves in a bag, be sure and store it in such a way that it'll be easy access to it and it won't destroy anything else around it. If you get your leaves wet, when you go to mulching with your leaves, you're going to get black hands. That's just all there is to it. Your hands are going to stink. And it's going to be hard to get your hands clean and smelling good. So get your leaves when they're dry if possible and store them in a building so they will not get wet. Because if you store them outside, which you would probably have to do because most people have to, you store them outside in bags until spring. And they will get wet even if you have them closed up good. They'll get moisture in them. They'll get wet. They'll stink. They'll get heavy. They'll be hard to drag to your garden. They'll be messy. Don't wear your Sunday best clothes. Wear your worst clothes and go out there and expect to get dirty and stinky because that is going to be one stinky mess. But if you have a truckload of dry leaves that you got and they're not in bags and you can just spread them out with them. Just take a broom or a shovel and spread them out and then plant your tomato plants in the leaves. You will have a beautiful tomato patch. Um, Now, as far as the bean fence again, it's okay to have about 30 feet between each post would be pretty good. 20 feet is better, but that's more work. Now, when you have your middle posts, do not fasten your wire to that post too tightly. Don't wrap it around it and don't tack it too tight. Just put a staple in the post around the uh, wire as though you were going to staple it tight, but don't quite. So that when you tighten your fence on both ends, because you're going to have a guy wire on both ends that you're going to tighten up, that there can slip through that staple a little bit, but you need to have it firm enough so that it will hold, but yet not too firm or it can't give, and then you have other problems that you don't want. I guarantee you won't want those problems. And then also on your guy wire stakes, be sure and tie a red flag on the top of each stake so that you can see those things. A red flag for the day and a white flag at night would be good. You'd have two flags on each stake so you won't run into that thing and hurt yourself badly. You could fall, stumble, whatever. And so it's better to protect yourself with these flags so you won't be running into it. And you're not going to run into the wire because it's got that there uh, board in it. And make sure that board is, you stop turning it to the at the point where that board will go up and down. It's not this way because if it's vertical, you can't see it well and you'll run into it. But if it's if it's horizontal, I mean. But if it's vertical, flat, to where you can see it, then you're not going to be apt to run into that board. And another thing, don't make it extremely tight, because if you make that there too tight, it'll snap and the wire will bust, and it might hurt you. Furthermore, now you got to start over with your wire. So do not make it so extremely tight that it'll bust. You'll learn as you go along. By the time you have done 6 rows of beans, you're going to know how to do it next year better, and you're going to be thinking about that from then until the following year. You have a whole year to think about it and then improve on it, and maybe even have a better fence than I ever made, and you'll be so happy with your fence the following year. Um, so that's pretty much it for right now. So I will talk more details about gardening later. I have things to tell you about different things that you can grow, different plants that you can plant. And for example, you can plant sweet potato plants, and then be sure that when the first frost of the fall comes, that you cut these plants off at the top of the ground so they won't draw the frost down into the potato, because when it frosts, these potato plants get poisoned. The sweet potatoes do. Somehow they draw poison down into the sweet potato and they're not fit to eat. So just be sure and do that. And for regular potatoes, you can plant them in the ground or on the ground, put mulch on top. There's different ways you can do it. And you plant them as early as possible, like middle of March or something like that. And you'll have a wonderful crop of potatoes.